Chichikupa, everyone. We're back with more Klonoa, this time for the PlayStation 2 rather than the Wii/PlayStation 1. And this was actually a donation gift, so thank you, whoever you were. I forget your name because it's been over a year, so sorry about that. But this was a donation,
Thanks for the
and we're
donation,
doing this
you
for you.
son of a bitch.
I haven't played through Klonoa 2 myself, but it was actually a birthday gift along with Rayman 2 on the PlayStation 2 from my girlfriend. So I actually have some experience with this one.
You have experience looking at the box, you mean?
No, I've played it.
Oh, I thought you said you hadn't played it.
I said I haven't played through it. I haven't finished it.
Oh, okay.
Because I was frankly more interested in Rayman 2 at the time. Because 3D platformer, and I was actually wondering what was up with 3D Rayman and why they went back to 2D Rayman, and the answer is nothing was up with 3D Rayman. 2D Rayman was just more retro popular at the time.
Alright.
Both games start with a similar thing, though. They get all dark and rainy and piratey at you. It's like they're trying to contrast themselves against the light and quirky humor of the original.
So it's been a while since we did Klonoa for the Wii. That one, was that a remake of a Klonoa title?
Yes, that was a remake of Klonoa 1 for the PlayStation 1.
Okay, so this is the sequel that... I'm assuming this one never got a remake?
Nope, not yet anyway.
Well, not yet. Well, you're so hopeful.
Well, it's still a good game. It's just the story is bullshit.
It doesn't really need a remake because it's really just directly on par with the Klonoa remake, but at the same time they could do with a remaster or a re-release or something,
Now, are all these games related? Do they have continuity?
Supposedly they do, but they only had 3 games and they never finished anything, so yeah.
This is 3 games. Is that including that GBA game that nobody knows about?
Yes, that I have on the Wii U and we'll get to eventually.
I think I still have that.
Oh, there's a Pac-Man on his hat. Oh, okay, cool.
That's right. Ted wasn't with us when we did Klonoa, what was he?
No, I wasn't. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was
one of our first commentaries. It was back when we were still uploading some RAWs to the main channel as private videos.
Yeah, I think it was the last one we ever did that way.
Yeah, so it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe. I forget which it is right now. Oh God, how long have we been around?
At the end of the last game, Klonoa found out that everything was a lie, and he was sucked into another portal.
And this is what happened after that.
Well, fuck me. This looks like such a riveting place to end up in.
There's nothing but water. Oh, is that Monokuma? No, wait, it's a cat. Mono Neko?
Some sort of freakish alien.
I like
person?
how Klonoa is statically floating exactly where he is while the waves roll over him.
Because he's magical.
If you've ever been in the ocean when it's that rough, you would be being thrown all over the place if you weren't just underneath the water.
Yeah, your ribs are probably broken by now.
You'd at least be bobbing up and down. God damn.
How early PS2 was this game?
I believe this came out 2001.
Okay, yeah, so this is pretty early PlayStation 2. Although I will say, for an early PS2 game, this looks pretty good from what I've seen so far.
It's got the cel-shady look that kind of disguises the graphics, and from the looks you can never really tell what early PS2 was, because the PlayStation 2 by itself never had quite the graphical power of the GameCube and the Xbox, so some games later on went with a simpler but more graphically nice art style to sort of disguise that. And then you have your Atlas titles, which were just budget to begin with and never really tried to go particularly far with the technology.
This is Popka. He enjoys Michael Jackson. Ow! Not now, Popka.
Yeah, this game has no voice acting, it's just Banjo-Kazooie speak.
Which is really weird considering that, again, the Remake came out years after this game came out, but that one had voice acting, and it's kind of weird to go back to it where they speak like Animal Crossing speak.
Yeah.
Well, Rayman has the same issue, but it implemented regular, English dialogue much earlier on than Klonoa did.
Well, it depends on which version of Rayman 2 you're talking about.
Yeah, well, they had it on the PlayStation 1 version, or at least the PlayStation 1 version that's on the PlayStation Network. It might have been a later edition. it might have been a specific national edition. I'm not really sure.
So why did that little girl just become our rig?
Because he needed a new Hupo.
Yeah, Hupo went the way of Navi at the end of the last game, so yeah. And you know what's funny? They do the same thing here that they did in Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands, where you get a completely new way of doing the exact same thing you did in the last game, and the character's all surprised by the fact that they can do these things in the first place, and not by the fact that they have a new way of doing it. It's like they're learning their skills for the first time, and just forgot they spent the last 8 hours doing that.
You guys are just so giddy and ready to assume that I'm ready for an adventure.
Oh,
I just escaped from the biggest lie of my life.
Okay,
And the
so
first thing that happens when I get here is not, "Hey, Klonoa, you should rest for a weekend." It's, "Let's go on another damn adventure."
Okay, so what was the lie from the first Klonoa game again?
At the end of the game, Klonoa is... It's like he finds out that the world that he was in the entire time was like a dream.
Oh.
And it was time to wake up. And by that we mean forcibly eject you from the dream world because you're an abomination that doesn't belong here.
So Klonoa wakes up and then he realizes he has his midterms tomorrow?
Oh, the worst of dreams.
Ah, you mean I'm not a wing-eared cat person?
No, you are. You just don't have room for freaks like you.
Is this a cat or a bunny, by the way?
Nobody knows.
The answer to that is yes.
Ah, so he's a thingamajig. Another thing he has in common with Rayman.
Good to see that. Alright, so it looks like, just in terms of mechanics, the game is primarily the same. Collecting jewels and bouncing off enemies.
Yep. It's virtually no different from the first game, which is probably why this game didn't do as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of
virtually.
weird. It depends on the sequel, I've noticed, because, like, Mega Man 2 didn't do an awful lot different from the first Mega Man, yet that was considered, that did way better than the original, and then sometimes you've got sequels that are kind of by the numbers, and then they just, you know, they do worse for some reason. I guess it just depends on the situation.
At the same time, Klonoa 1 was made at a time when 3D platforming was itself more of a an experimental thing, so the 2.5D approach was more novel at the time.
Meanwhile, when this game came out, we had Jak and Daxter and a whole bunch of other 3D platformers that were just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think doing a 2D platformer on a console by 2000, 2001 was a little bit, you know, lame. Because, you know, if you weren't doing that on, like, a Game Boy, then Game Boy Advance, you weren't doing it at all. So I think, you know, that might be a reason why this game didn't do as well as the original.
Yeah, Ted is just talking about the outlook of people at the time, not our own personal opinion. So don't jump down our throats, Klonoa fans.
Well, yeah.
No, don't judge that. I laugh at him.
Well, you know, I don't have anything wrong with 2.5D games. Like, you know, Kirby 64 is one of my favorites, even though I played that after Banjo-Tooie and stuff. It's just, you know, that was, ooh, it's the Sonic Rush hang glidey section. Woohoo.
I'm gonna say I didn't like that when I played it. It kind of feels a bit wonky to me.
Nah, there's just something about 2.5D to me that it doesn't age as gracefully as just a pure 2D adventure. I'm talking sprite-based game visualizations. You know, it's just something like primarily, or inherently I should say, something about 2.5D that just looks washed out in terms of coloring and visual aesthetics. Unless the game itself is, you know, from the get-go vibrant. Like, I think, actually, to go back to Kirby 64 was one of the better looking 2.5D games that aged gracefully, just from looks. But, you know, I look at other 2.5D creations like Mega Man X8 or Castlevania: The Dracula X Chronicles in the PSP, and I love that remake, but its color choice and it's a visual bore, honestly.
I think, you know what it might actually have to do with? It might actually have to do with the graphical fidelity, because Dracula X Chronicles was a PSP game. So, you know, they were capable of doing more like fancy things and higher res textures and whatnot, as opposed to Kirby, which was an N64 game, so in order to make things look interesting, they had to make it vibrant. So, yeah, I think it's just a matter of art design choices fitting the style that they're going for, as opposed to what the hell is Klonoa trying to do? Like,
He's sliding down.
no, like in the air, he's just like, and then he goes a little bit farther.
It's just that when I
That's
see
his
this,
floaty jump.
it's just when I see this game, and I think of it. If this was in 2D, there'd be more detail. I'm pretty sure. Like the floor that we're running in right now. You see the cobblestones in the floor, and we see the grass. You know, if it was 2D, I'm pretty sure there'd be more individual pixels for the grass texture, or the cobblestone will pop out more. Here, everything's a little flat, and I just think visually that is not as appealing.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. It gets a little less of it becomes a little less of a problem as you get to 2.5D games on like the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, but it's a bit more obvious to see in PSP, PS2, and below games. Like Dracula X Chronicles sort of fell prey to that syndrome where they tried to do a sort of realistic art style, not necessarily realistic, but grittier, on a system that didn't quite have the polygon count to push it as well as they would have in a sprite-based game. And it's not terrible. I liked the look of it, but it sort of falls on its face compared to the original's overall look and feel. I think, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, now, so jumping the gun a bit, because I'm impatient. Is this real?
Nobody knows.
They didn't do enough games to clarify, huh?
Oh, we're going to get that in Klonoa 4.
Okay, so a more important question: are there stupid win moves, and do you use them?
No, there's no stupid win move in this game.
Aww, that was one of my favorite kind of running jokes from that playthrough, was stupid win move, and it didn't do anything.
Didn't really do anything, yeah.
Who's
As far as we're aware, allegedly, yeah.
okay? So who's Babagoo Scooties here?
I have a question.
He's some guy.
I have a question. On the mountains there, is that supposed to be trees, or is it just moss growing on the rocks? Because it looks like moss.
No,
Yes.
it's just a little dabbing with the 2-inch brush. You can make some great-looking trees that are far off in the distance with those.
Listen, I'm not finished, alright? We're working on it, we're working on it.
Is that like a legitimate art
Yeah,
advice?
that's
or-
Bob Ross. It's just like you can.
Yeah, it's called
It
half-ass.
sounded like Bob Ross.
It's called
Well, it
Happy
didn't-
Little Mistakes.
Sound like Bob Ross, but it sounded like something he would say if it were actually being said in that calming ass voice.
I listen to Bob Ross when I have trouble trying to fall asleep. So yeah.
So is
is
this
pretty
guy? So is this guy one of like the priests from Subspace Emissary or something?
This guy's name is Baguji.
He's our plot dump.
So okay, we have to ring the bells to stop the evil, right?
Yeah.
Woo!
Why is Klonoa just going along with this?
Because he has nothing better to do.
Because he has nowhere else to go, man. I mean, we never really do get any idea where Klonoa really hails from, or, you know, besides what Dream Traveler, I guess, Baguji. I just like that name, Baguji. It's kind of fun to say.
Okay, so if redhead girl there is our Hupo, then what's the other guy for?
He's here to be a jerk.
Well, for that, she was guilt tripping us there. Like, you saw that, right? Just giving us this sad ass side of glance is like, you will do it, right?
Puppy
Yeah.
dog eyes.
Yeah, that's
you
exactly.
Can't
Yeah.
resist the puppy dog eyes.
I'm compelled by obligation. Fuck you, Lolo.
Did anybody ever play The Adventures of Lolo?
That was an NES game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was made by the Kirby people before they did Kirby.
I want to say I did, but I don't remember if this is the game I'm thinking of. Can you explain it real quick?
I don't know anything about it. I just
Too
know
late.
that
You never
play
played it.
as Lolo.
Too late.
To be continued, damn it.
Too late.